First of all, Sheila, what's your name and union position?
I'm Sheila and I'm branch secretary of EIS-FELA at City of Glasgow College.
Now this is week 3 of all-out strike action. Why are you on strike?
Well, we originally had a statutory ballot because of cuts that are being made. We had 15 minutes cut off every class at school halfway through the session. Then we were told that classes were going to be further cut, FE classes, HE classes next year. And we were told that this is because students need to become independent learners. And the way that they become independent learners is to learn independently. Well, I haven't met another lecturer who has that philosophy, the management do. So that was what originally we were balloting for. And we got a mandate for ASOS, which is actually short strike action, and strike. But then 100 compulsory redundancies were put on the table. So the strike action that we had in reserve was suddenly brought to the fore. And it wasn't maybe just 1 day a week or 2 days a week. We thought we have to make a real statement here. And we had a branch meeting and a vote for, it's more or less indefinite action. It's four days a week.
Yeah. What impact do you think those redundancies would have, not just on remaining staff but students?
Oh, I mean, it's untenable. This is the latest of a whole lot of cuts. And each cut is more severe than the last. Just a few years ago, there were 86 senior lecturers taken out. Now these are lecturers that have additional time for curriculum admin and looking after students. They were taken out, which was equivalent to 47 lecturers. Now curriculum heads who teach less were increased, and there was a new level of associate dean brought in, and all that really came to another, 17 lecturers or something. So that was a whole lot of lecturers went out the system, and management costs increased. There was more managers, and that meant also that the amount of students under the curriculum head was much more. The support for students went away. Senior lecturers used to have like 60 students to look after. Now curriculum heads have got hundreds. Now they are not going to get the same level of support. So that happened a few years ago and we've never recovered from that.
Yeah.
We fought it. We've got the figures to show that management costs increased, but nobody was interested. Management costs increased at the expense of lecturing hours. And since then, employment levels, the staffing levels seem to have recovered. So one wonders if voluntary severance comes round, they get rid of people they don't want, and then when nobody's looking, oh, we need somebody to do this and to do that, and they appoint more managers as well. Somebody has to look at the structure of these places. Who's doing what? How much are they getting paid?
Now, the theme of what you said is the increased, escalating sums spent on senior management. I know the union has put forward alternatives to 100 compulsory redundancies. What's the main core of those alternatives?
We're asking the board to look at the management structure. We're suggesting that some posts can be removed. Mm-hmm. We're also suggesting that 20% cut on all senior management salaries. We don't think that's unreasonable. If this is a crisis, why are the teachers taking the hit? Why is action not being taken to preserve the education aspect of all this? We're also looking at other, for years we know that up to £100,000 is spent on PR consultancy, and there are other consultancy fees that we found in the accounts that we've queried. So we have not been allowed a proper discussion about expenditure. We're beginning to get information now that we're coming to the end of their the minimum consultation period, but not one that they have to stick to.
And what kind of bracket of wages are senior management on? You say a 20% cut, would they suffer with that?
I wouldn't consider. The principal's on in his hand, I think about 160 or 170. And then I think the deputy principal's on maybe, it's over 100,000 I think, or thereabouts. And you know, they're all on 170, 80, 90,000 pounds.
Yeah.
It's obscene.
Yeah.
And we don't see any value. I mean, it's chaotic in there. They came back from, what was it, Easter holidays, and all the computers were gone out of the classrooms. And it's so difficult to function. All we want is a classroom and our students, and let us get on with it. That seems so difficult to provide.
Paul Little is a figure of probably hostility and fun amongst pickets. What's his motivation? I mean, what kind of thing is he up to?
He's trying to privatise education. He's said in meetings, which he's attending now, actually, we've had 2 meetings, which shows that there's maybe a bit of pressure there. And he says that we wouldn't be in this financial situation if we were in the private sector. Now, he is, one of the areas being targeted is modern apprenticeships, which are SVQs, and I think there will be a way that he wants to do them using instructors' assessors rather than the lecturers that they get at the moment. That's just one example. Learning support lecturers, they've all been basically made to feel so unwanted for a number of years. Most of them took voluntary severance, and the ones that are left are being told that there's to take compulsory redundancy, and they're not being allowed to redeploy to learning and support and development advisors that are being employed in their place. So that's obviously a point of contention. Now, we know of students who are struggling to finish their course because the learning support lecturer that they've visited once a week all year isn't there anymore, and they're not going to be able to come back next year because that support isn't going to be there. It's Armageddon.
Now, in that horrendous situation, what do you think the Scottish Government should do? Because they do have things like the Fair Work Convention, which declares that they'll not allow any compulsory redundancies in the public sector, for instance, and also just generally the control, a check and accountability over management here. What do you think the government should do?
Well, you see, this is the problem. The government would say that it's the responsibility of that the colleges have got their own autonomy. The funding council, it's like pass the parcel.
Yeah.
We've got a board who is our employer. We've got a regional board, which apparently is an extension of the funding council, and you've got the Scottish Government. But whenever you go to one, they always refer you to the other one. And nobody is taking responsibility here. Part of the problem at government level may be the change in ministers. I think a lot of people don't understand further education. Some politicians do. One that I know of understands it fully, but most of them I don't think really understands the nature of it, and they seem unwilling to actually take the bull by the horns and sort it out.
Finally, Sheila, what's your message or appeal to the wider trade union movement and society generally?
Wow, we've had a wonderful support from the wider trade union movement, and I think that really makes a difference to the morale of the members on the picket line. And unfortunately, there are some people that are going into work. I'm not sure why, but hopefully that will help get the message through to them as well. So we are just grateful for the support and the momentum this has given to the strike.
Okay. Well, you have the solidarity of the Scottish Socialist Party, and we'll raise it in unions where we have various members and so on to build support for you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.